Welcome back aboard Blurred Force One with your boys Mo and Lottie, and this is the Supercast. The Supercast where we talk about all things superhero in our pop culture media, and that's of course TV, movies, video games, and we talk about news, do some speculation, all that good nerdy stuff. And before we get into the podcast today, do us a favor, get down there, hit like on the video, or if you're listening to us on a podcasting platform, do us a favor and give us a 5-star review or whatever you think we deserve. And hey, it's I guess it's post Blue Beetle week, and not so great for them, but box office continues rolling, but it still is a bit of a slow news week because the strikes are still going on. But we got some good stuff there. But before we get into all that, Lottie, my friend, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
And you been doing anything nerdy lately?
I launched the new animation. It was back to my regular longer animations. It's not fully completed, but it's doing very well on Facebook and Instagram. I of course watched Gamescom today. Getting me excited for games because so far 2023 has been a very low for video games. Besides the very beginning with Dead Space remake and Resident Evil 4 remake, it's been a very slow year, but it seems like it's gonna pick back up soon with Sonic Frontier DLC and Spider-Man 2 coming out. So it's hopefully the end can end on a bang with some better video games.
Right. Well, we'll see. My nerdy stuff, between doing a ton of review, editing and all that other stuff, I'm trying very slowly for whatever reason. It's taking me a while to get through Samurai Champloo, but I'm doing it, and that's been fine. I know it's only been out like 20 years, but hey, I'm working through it. I'm trying to get back into anime actually. Lottie, I don't know if I said that to you before, but there's just so much anime across so many streaming platforms that I'm just like, oh, where do I start? What should I do? I might even start Gurren Lagann just because, I missed that train, however many years ago. So
I'll just say this. Don't let anime fans bully you into watching some, there's so much anime out there now that literally the only way that you can catch up is that the only thing you will have to watch is anime. And I'm not a weeb. There's an anime that I enjoy, but I am not a freaking weeb. Anime is not my freaking pastime. It's just not. It's just you. Just find some animes that you like and stick to it. Don't let anybody go like, oh, if you're not watching this anime, you're not a real anime fan. Yeah, okay, then I'm not. Damn, shit.
I'm not gonna do that anyway. I just really want to catch things that I missed. Maybe One Punch Man or My Hero Academia or some old school one. I was thinking about just going through Cowboy Bebop again. Like, why not? So either way. But this is the Supercast where we're going to talk about superhero stuff. We got a good amount of news for the week and some discussion topics. We don't do enough talking about nerd fights and all that other stuff. So we got a couple today. But first in the news, we're going to talk about Blue Beetle. A certain person didn't watch it this weekend, but I did. So I'm going to give you my brief impressions of it, and we'll talk the box office, which, spoiler alert, ain't good. Loki and Wandavision, they're coming to disc, surprisingly. What's up with that? The Flash speeds into Max way earlier than we thought, And we're going to talk about the top 20 MCU projects, rated projects on Rotten Tomatoes. A VFX artist talks about what's really to blame for the bad CG in superhero movies. And then we're going to do a nerd fight where we talk about ranking 4 comic book trilogies. And finally, celebrating Blade turning 25. Now Blade's Blake can finally get car insurance at a much lower rate. So that's all we're going to talk about this week. So Lottie, you ready to get into it?
Yeah, I'm ready to get into it.
All right, let's do it. So Blue Beetle. What? If you're a nerd and you're listening to this, you probably know what's up. Hopefully you went and saw it. I did. I got to see it on Sunday. And what am I gonna say? I liked it. I'm non-spoil. I'm not gonna spoil too much about it. I think it's a really solid movie. I don't think it's great, but I think it's, if someone's calling it mid, they are wrong. It's not a mid movie. It's a really good comic book movie. It's a little bit of a throwback in some places. It's very much inspired or takes bits and pieces from other kinds of media. Like there's a bit where you'd be like, oh, this is like a Fast and the Furious movie. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think where this movie really shines is the fact that it's just such a specific cultural, thing. In the way that Black Panther is. Like, this is not the Latino Black Panther. I'm gonna call it like that. It's too small scale, and it's not as well told and as good a story. It's actually a fairly run of the mill comic book story that's just told very well. But to that point, though, there's Latino culture in it that is so specific that I, as a person that grew up in Texas and lives in Florida, missed. I know I missed some stuff, but it was fun. Lottie, the family dynamic. You know how Miss Marvel, you really like the family. That's how you're gonna feel about this family, the Reyes family.
Yeah, I heard like from people that some of the things that when people said they liked about the movie, the family is, there's a lot of people that like were saying, expecting in the movie they're not gonna like the family. They're saying the family is like one of the best things in the movie. And that is like universal, even from like toxic fans. I've seen toxic fans say like, yeah, the family was a very good part of this movie.
Yeah, everyone was mad about the whole Batman the Fascist line. Surprise, it was a line that had a line following it that put it into context, but whatever. The family's really fun and really interesting, and you like them immediately and root for them. The bad guy, if anything, I'd say the downfall, there's two things that are sort of, taking this away from being a really awesome movie to just being a great movie, and that is Susan Sarandon is wasted as a villain. She's very generic as a billionaire industrialist villain, and also just the plot is very Iron Man. It's like Iron Man and Venom and Fast and the Furious sort of had a weird baby.
I heard that. I seen like side by side pictures of the final fight, and I was just like, what?
But that being said, the action's really great. Like the fight scenes, when they finally get into it, everyone's powered up and they're going ham. That sword, that giant Buster sword, is a fucking Buster sword. It goes ham. Like there are parts that like the action sequences where I'm like, okay, I now see where y'all spent y'all's money, But this movie really lives or dies on whether or not you like Xolo Maridueña as Jaime Reyes, and you do, and whether or not you like his family, and you do, and even there's a connection to Ted Kord, the original the Blue Beetle, and so there's lore and everything in there. It's fun. It's a good fun movie where you really like the good guys, and even the bad guy the bad guy is less mustache twirling. At least the bad guy that works for the bad guy is more Killmonger than he is, Ironmonger from Iron Man. So like all the way around, I liked it a lot. I liked it mostly for the characters and less for the superheroics. And I'm so looking forward to seeing what Blue Beetle is in the DCU. So, and I do believe I avoided as many spoilers as I could there. But, if you're a DC fan, this is for you. If you like comic book movies, this is for you. Hell, if you just like to see a comic book movie that has a hell of a lot more heart and you know, just a lot more specificity than, you know, let's say a Morbius or something like that, way more than that, this is definitely for you. So like, just definitely go check it out, and report back on it from there. That being said, Lottie, this thing, whew, 25 mil opening weekend in the U.S. That ain't gonna do it. That's a flop by any other name. Like, I think its worldwide numbers are like trash. And but are we surprised by this?
No.
It's it's unfortunate. I hate that 2023 is the year of good movies that can't make any money. Like that. Like, if this seriously, if this movie had come out either 5 months before Aquaman 1 or 6 months after it, it'd have done gangbusters. Like, for real. Like that I don't get this. Like, what do you people want? Like, it's a solid, you know, it's a solid superhero film that's got a lot, you know, it's got a lot going for it, except apparently people wanting to go see DC movies. Shit's crazy, man. I don't know, Lottie. What is there any takeaway DC's gonna get from this?
I mean, man, I've been telling people this, and people either ignored me or didn't want to believe me. When Guardians of the Galaxy 3 didn't make $1 billion, that is a massive red flag of what is to come this year. Because I'm just like, if that movie didn't make $1 billion, boy, you guys, it is going to be rough to make it. If any movie gets past 750 million, you should be making absolute victory laps, popping champagne, kissing your wife, throwing middle fingers at everybody. If you can make 750 million in this year, because nobody's going to them.
Unless you're Barbie or Oppenheimer.
But it's just those. Here's the thing about Oppenheimer and Barbie. Barbie is just a cultural movie that there was never a Barbie movie ever before. So it's one of those things that, of course, is going. If Barbie came out in 2022, it probably would be one of the highest grossing movies of all time. You know what I mean? There's never been a Barbie movie, and Oppenheimer is this like classic that's been hyped up for hell for the last 2 or 3 years, you know what I mean? But like these other movies, like I felt like this movie was never going to be a $700 million thing. But I think this movie could have easily made about $300 to $500 million in the box office, because from what I hear, like, there's not a single person that I've heard that didn't like this movie. It's a good movie it's a good summertime movie to go watch with friends or family and just sit down and actually enjoy yourself. Mm-hmm. The simple fact that this is the type of movie that's bombing, it just shows you that nobody wants to watch a movie. And I don't think DC should look at this and be like, oh, let's never make a movie like this again. No, don't look at it like this. The lesson that DC needs to take from this movie is that you have destroyed your brand so much that you need to fix your brand.
Right.
That's what you need to. There's no lesson that this movie should not be blamed for its lack of success. Mm-hmm. And DC, Warner Brothers, you are to blame for the lack of this movie's success.
Well, let's also remember that this was supposed to come out on HBO Max. So yeah. It was made for a decent amount of money. Like, I think originally it was supposed to be 90 mil. I think they upped it like 20 or 30 million dollars. That's not a bad expenditure for this kind of movie. I mean, it shows in some ways, and a lot of the money went to the CG and everything for obvious reasons. But I think the kernel, the core of this movie is very strong, and it's a strong character. Like, this is a character that I understand why James Gunn's like, oh yeah, we're keeping this one. You know, if he's playing in the toy box, this is one he wants to keep because the whole idea is just like super strong, and like every character in there just kind of endears you to it. And you know, I didn't say it before, but like the story is good enough that it made me tear up several times. So like this was not just like a, you know, a Shazam 2. You know, this was Shazam 2, and I like Shazam 2. This movie's better than Shazam 2, right? It says in this, you know, I like Black Adam. This is better than Black Adam. I'd say it's, you know, it's 50-50 for me if it's better than Flash, but like Flash has a lot of baggage that came with it. This has no baggage. It's just you can get into it. So either way, it's too bad for them. But I hope the lesson that DC takes is lean more into trusting your characters. That's what I want them to do. Trust your characters. Trust that you have characters that people are going to connect with, that you can, you know, really lean hard into their differences, you know, what makes them special, the people that surround them, and that you focus on character first and forget about all the superheroics will come along. You know, the character is first. So anyway, we'll see. We'll talk about more about Blue Beetle's box office, I'm sure, in the coming weeks, and also when he shows up in the DCU. So real quick, this is just a quick bit. Lottie, apparently the different studios are like, you know what? Maybe we should make some money off of these dang streaming shows we got. It's that like, oh, you know, maybe it'll be a good idea if instead of just, you know, throwing them on the streaming service, we actually, I don't know, get paid doing it. So you saw Miss Marvel was on, you know, ABC recently, and then Zaslav over at HBO or at Warner Brothers Discovery, you know, they're licensing their shit out everywhere. But what I didn't expect to see, especially in light of the fact that Disney was like, we don't need to sell Blu-rays in Australia anymore, is that they're putting WandaVision and Loki out on you know, Blu-ray sets. Lottie, it's like it's the mid 2000s again. We're getting DVD sets, but of WandaVision and Loki. Lottie, it's I don't know if you've seen this guy on YouTube or whatever. He's the time traveler from 2005. I feel like that's what's going on.
Man, I can't believe you watch him. Oh, I'm the time traveler from the year 2005.
I discovered him this week, and I can't not watch. But yeah, they're out there popping the trunk and selling DVDs of WandaVision and Loki. What's up, man? What is up with that?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they should have been did this. And here's the thing that people have to understand this. I don't care how easy streaming all of this stuff is. There is nothing better than having it native. I've got into this argument so many times with people who are trying to tell me streaming is the future of everything. And I keep telling them streaming will never, ever be better than native. And they're like, oh, but eventually they'll be able to stream with 4K and all of this stuff and all that stuff. And I said, yeah, by the time they're able to do that, we'll have the thing native in 8K with all of that stuff, HDR and all that crazy stuff. No, it will never reach the levels of native. And there are people who are hardcore fans like me. I'm a hardcore video game fan. If it's a video game that I absolutely love, you damn sure right I'm getting the disc. How dare you? What do you mean download the game or stream it? How dare you? I will slap you in your face if you ever try to. Man, I remember someone told me I should just download God of War. How dare you?
Well, you know, that makes sense. You're right. the Blu-ray or the 4K disc is always going to be better and consistently better, because streaming is up and down. Like your bandwidth is not always going to be consistent.
Exactly.
I don't have a gig. I don't have gig internet, but I have close to it, and it pisses me off when I'm streaming something and it drops down to SD. And I'm like, what the hell for? I've got really fast internet. How? And that's annoying. But you have the disc. Hey, it's always the right frame rate, and there's always the right picture quality. But there's another aspect to this, which is, shows on streaming aren't there permanently. They're not like, they're not always going to be there. So right now, like in the past few months, a show that I happen to like quite a bit on Paramount Plus, Star Trek Prodigy, got canceled before the second season came out, even though it's through. They're shopping around trying to find some place to air it. But not only did they cancel it, they took it off the streaming service because they don't want to pay residuals to writers and actors and whatnot. They're saving money. And we've seen that on all the streaming services have been purging content. Well, it wouldn't be a deal if we could buy this shit on disc. If you want it, you can get it, right? Now, Star Trek Prodigy, if you want to watch the first season that aired, you have to go buy the Blu-rays. And that's cool, fine. At least it's available. And you can also get it digitally elsewhere too. But that's the thing they don't tell you is all your digital movies, all your digital TV shows, everything that you purchased, you spent money on, isn't yours, right? It's just a license to stream it in perpetuity or until either the store closes or they just decide not to.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm all for this. Now, right now I don't really have the money to just be throwing at Blu-ray sets, but when I get a chance to, I'm definitely going to be getting WandaVision and Loki. Hell, add to my MCU collection. That's a goal of mine, is to get the entire MCU on 4K.
Exactly.
So one day, especially when that lottery hits, it's on. I'm getting getting all of them. So anyway, this is cool. I like this. I hope they keep doing this. And Mickey Mouse is just like, I need that cash. So hey, get it where you can. If it's on streaming services, you ain't getting no money for it. If it's on, unless it's on ad supported, they're getting it however which way they can. So I'm all for it. So anyway, hopefully they'll save Miss Marvel, and we'll talk about that in the future. So another real quick one, or hopefully quick one this time. Lottie, The Flash did so well in the box office that they decided to just throw that thing on the streaming.
I love how sarcastic you sounded.
It did so gangbusters. It went into the Speed Force in terms of getting itself onto HBO Max. That's how you know that movie didn't do shit. I'm gonna tell you straight up, it didn't do a damn thing, because they didn't say, oh, on digital for rent. No, they just said, no, it's just gonna be on HBO Max on Friday. Just show up. They don't even want to. They'll put it on digital, but they're not expecting anything out of it. Lottie, this is just, what a gigantic failure, and I hate it because I like the movie a lot. So, I mean, I have nothing else to say. I just wanted to point that out, and I want to hear what you had to say about it.
I mean, bro, post-mortem, man. Do, 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 do. I mean, that's the wedding one. My bad. But yeah, that movie, man. That movie was like, Jesus, man. That was an obliteration of. I expected it not to do well. I wasn't expecting the worst grossing big budgeted superhero movie of all time. Bad. I wasn't expecting that. Like, I was expecting it to like make maybe 500, 600 million, come short of its break even of like 700 million or 800 million, because it cost a lot of money to make that movie. Man, how much money you think they lost? Like 200-300 million on that movie?
A lot. Well, I think to put it in perspective, I believe the total spend on it ended up being something to the tune of, I think not 300 million, but I think it was over 250 mil. This is, now mind you,
it said 300 million.
That's counting the marketing. You always got to add marketing, and they marketed the shit out of that movie. So I'm saying the actual production budget was probably at least over 250, mainly because it was in development for so fucking long, and they had to do a ton of reshoots and all the CG and all that. I mean, it was in development for 10 years, like active development. So I figure, yeah, I mean, the total spend on it is probably well over 300 and 20 something, 330. And so the break even was, remember, 2.5 to 3 times the budget. And so, yeah, the break even was probably something to the tune of $800 million. And it's Fast 10 like level of needing to make money. And at least Fast 10 did sort of limp across its break even. They lost a ton of money on this. Because if you say, like, I think the total revenue, did it even get over 300? I'm not even sure if it's
200 and I just looked it up. 268 million.
Yeah, its break even is so far away from it. They're taking such a bath on this. It's ridiculous. Which, again, for a movie that I thought was really good. So again, this is the year of good movies failing. And it's interesting. It's not all comic book movies, but the ones that seem to be failing are, genre movies. So is it comic book fatigue? I don't think so, but it is weird to me that movies that, the comic book genre seems to, you either have to have a greatest of all time movie or you got nothing. And I need to see, like, to me, The Flash at the very least should have been, in baseball terms, should have at least been a solid triple, not a home run, but a solid triple. Same thing with Blue Beetle. Should have been a solid, like, double or triple. Black Adam, not great, even though I liked it. So it, fine. Shazam 2, again, it's I liked it, but again, not great. But all of them should have at least gotten more than halfway to their goal of breaking even. Like, what's happening? What is happening with the consumers now? Should we actually talk about comic book movie fatigue? We'll save that for another day. That's just something to think about. So anyway, I guess I'll watch. I'm gonna watch it again when it comes out this weekend. So you guys go check out The Flash if you didn't see it before, and we'll compare notes later. So moving on, I think it's time for a little bit of nerd discussion, if you will. Lottie, I was just, before we got on to do the podcast today, just on Twitter, and somebody I follow who does talks about a lot of comic book movies and stuff like that, posted this little graphic, and it says Marvel Studios Rotten Tomatoes scores, and there's the top 20 MCU projects in terms of their Rotten Tomatoes score. And I thought we'd talk about them. Specifically, this person was saying, basically saying, oh, I thought Phase 4 was trash, but half of these top 20, it says half of the top 10 are Phase 4 movies. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good discussion topic. So, Lottie, I want to run down these and see how you feel about their placement, and with the understanding that Rotten Tomato scores, of course, is, it's not us, it's not audience scores, it's critics and what they think about these various things. Do you think that these Rotten Tomato scores are in line with that, and is this a good top 20? So, you ready?
Yeah,
I'm ready. It's long. So, we'll start from the bottom. At 89%, the 20th one is Werewolf by Night.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor Strange at 89%. Captain America: The Winter Soldier at 90%. Wait a minute. What? You know what? I gotta stop there, Lottie. 90%. Y'all, are we doing this for real? What were the critics thinking about? 90% on Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
This is what I was going to say, that the reason why you're seeing some of these Phase 4 shows a lot higher on this list, and I'm not saying they're not deserving, it's because during the time of when the MCU was at its peak, it was cool to bash a superhero movie. There were people legitimately giving bad reviews, in my opinion, of the greatest superhero movie of all time, the first Avengers movie. People are like, oh, the movie was this and that. It's because it was still considered cool to bash a superhero movie, because it was, I'll say it took until 2017 or 2018 for Hollywood to realize, oh, these are not going anywhere. Because let's be honest, you read the same articles I was reading in the Rolling Stones. A lot of people in Hollywood hated superhero movies, hated them,
or still hate them. But that is a small minority now. This used to be a good amount of people, where articles were being written about how much they're sick and tired of superhero movies coming out. When Marvel was fucking, like, at this time, between, just to put in perspective, at the time, between 2012 and 2019, Marvel's lowest movies were Age of Ultron, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and what? Thor 2? Thor the Dark World.
And
probably
movies...
Iron Man 3, 2? Iron Man 2?
No, Iron Man 3 was actually pretty good.
Iron
Man 2 came out before that. Iron Man 2 came out... I'm talking about 2012 to 19, when that was considered Marvel's peak. It came out with maybe 3 quote-unquote bad movies, when those movies are actually not bad, but you, of course, comparing them to some of the greatest superhero movies of all time, they're bad. It's just, they did not like them. So you're going to see, like you said, Captain America: Winter Soldier, in my opinion, one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. At a 90%, you're fucking ridiculous. That should be 99%. The one person who doesn't like it is... Well, that one person who doesn't like it hates with the world. That's how that movie should be 90. I don't know a single person. I'm serious. I don't know a single person, comic book fan or not, that did not like that movie. That movie was so fucking good.
Yep. At 90% also Captain America: Civil War and Spider-Man. Spider-Man: Far From Home. Far From Home is at 90% also.
Oh my God, I see Avengers at 91%.
Yes, Avengers at 91%.
Oh God.
Also at 91%, Wandavision, which is funny because Wandavision is a lot of people's favorite Disney Plus Marvel show. Hawkeye at 92%. Look at the critics liked it a little bit more. They probably just really there just for Yelena. Loki, 92%. The first Guardians of the Galaxy at 92%. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, 92%. You know what? I think that's a fair and honest. That's a fair and honest score right there. Spider-Man: Homecoming, love it, 92%. Yeah, you know what? I'll take that. Spider-Man: No Way Home at 93%. What are y'all smoking?
Yeah, there's a lot of crack being smoked. That movie was so good they re-released it and it still made the box office. Yeah, you are tripping. 93. Hell no.
When I say No Way Home, yeah, No Way Home, I liked it. It is the third out of that trilogy for me though. Thor Ragnarok, 93%. That's a fair and honest score. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, 94%. Better than the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Is that a real thing? I liked it.
No,
It ain't better than the
you
actual.
smoking crack.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I guess it was a fun thing, but not better than Guardians or Avengers. Um, what if 94%? I'm a huge fan of that show, and I'm just like no, but
No,
no, that's not correct. Iron Man 94%. Honestly, Iron Man should be 99%. God damn it.
exactly.
It sh-
That
it should literally be 99%.
I still watch that movie to this day. To this day, man.
It's
Iron Man
yeah.
was a fucking great movie.
Yeah, it is so good that Iron Man 2 being trash is, if you watch them back to back, it makes it Iron Man 2 better. That's how good
Yes.
Iron Man 1's so good that Iron Man 2's better if they're seen next to each other. Avengers, what is that?
Endgame.
Endgame. Okay, fair. 94%, that's fair.
But
I'll
I
take that.
wouldn't put it over the original Avengers though.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
wouldn't put it.
it has its problems, but 94%, that's fair. Black Panther, uh, yes, 96%. That's a fair and honest score. That's I do not disagree with that at all. And Miss Marvel at 98%. I'll also accept that score correctly. I don't care what anyone says. If it wasn't for Wakanda Forever, that would have been my favorite Marvel thing in Phase 4. And as we speak, it is in my top 10 Marvel things, period. Like, there's a bunch of really quality stuff in there. And they're right. Look at that. Rotten Tomato score says, hey. Now, let's actually peel back this whole thing about Phase 4. What actual Phase 4 is in that top 20? Werewolf by Night, WandaVision,
All the TV shows.
Far From Home, No Way Home, right? Far From Home, No Way Home, Hawkeye, Loki, Shang-Chi, the Guardians Holiday Special, What If, Miss Marvel, right? That's a lot of stuff. Like, in the top 20, Rotten Tomato scores, there are a lot of, and to be honest, even though we were like, that shouldn't really be that score, mostly we said that because there's only, we mostly said that because the score should have been higher. We never said any of them should have been lower. So, but then again, Lottie, I have never subscribed to the idea that Phase 4 was trash. Like, at all. There are definitely some lesser things in it, but in the aggregate and in the sum total, Phase 4 was really good. And yeah, y'all can nerd fight me if you want. But I mean, Miss Marvel, Wakanda Forever, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man No Way Home, Werewolf by Night, Loki. I mean, I liked Hawkeye. I know a lot of people didn't necessarily like it as much. What If was really awesome. Like, I'm sorry, I do not agree that Phase 4 was trash.
Phase 4 had its strength. Like I could see how some people didn't like it because it felt like it drug a little bit longer than it should have.
And that's because
Phase 4 definitely.
That's because it had Disney Plus TV shows. It felt longer.
It had a
than
lot
it
in
was.
it. Yeah.
So, like, everyone's opinion and all that other shit, but Phase 4 wasn't trash. I think if I say anything, Phase 4 swung for the fences way more than the previous phases did. If you look through the various phases, I think there are only about Phase 1, 2, and 3 each had about maybe one or two projects where they're like, we're going balls to the wall, all in, and that's it. But in Phase 4, I'd say about there's about 6 or 7 things where they're just like, you know what, we're gonna try a thing. And like Werewolf by Night, it was we're gonna try something, right? What If was like, we're gonna try something. It didn't work for everyone. Eternals was like, you know what, we're gonna try something. and see what's up. Hell, even
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people didn't necessarily like it, but Thor: Love and Thunder was a hey, we're gonna try something and see if it works, right? And and
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of did, it kind of didn't. So I mean, there was just a lot of stuff going on in Phase Four, and they tried a lot harder to make some different things. They, if anything, I'd say Phase Four is more like the comics than any of the previous phases because it's literally a bunch of different heroes doing their own thing, and at some point they're going to join up, right? But
Yeah.
they're all doing their own thing in their own little corners of the universe, and they're not necessarily talking to each other. So anyway, I thought that was a fun little thing to talk about. So, if you guys agree, disagree, let us know. Let us know what you're thinking about these Rotten Tomato scores and Phase 4 in general. So, Lottie, back to a little bit of news. This, hopefully, we won't get too in the weeds here. I know you do animation and everything. You like video game and everything. You know what it takes to make, good computer animation, computer graphics. So a guy who I don't really follow him, but I see him on social media. He's one of the writers that's striking. Was talking about basically said something that sort of sounded like he was shitting on VFX artists, talking about movies and the need for writers and bad VFX and whatever. And he kind of got into it with the person that is a VFX artist. And basically, the VFX artist was like, hey, y'all sitting up here shitting on VFX when usually the problem isn't us, it's the shitty scripts that we have to fix, that we personally have to fix in post-production with our VFX to try to somehow salvage whatever it was they said they were trying to do. And it's a problem with bad writing and not with bad CG. And I thought that was interesting insight because in light of the fact that a movie that we both really like, which is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, we heard a lot of the crunch was due to the fact that they were redoing shots, right? They didn't like them. They wanted them to redo them. So it sounds like they essentially animated 2 movies rather than 1. And this seems to be, according to this VFX artist, to be something that's happening across the board, not just in comic book stuff, but any CG heavy stuff. Is the VFX artists essentially getting bad scripts and having to sort of work them into something decent. So I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about this? Like I said, you have a little more experience in this than I do. What do you think about this? And is this a good or analysis of what's happening?
It's definitely something that makes sense, and I can say this because it's, like you said, I make animations, and the thing that whenever I make an animation, there's a lot of times that I redo the animation. Like I'll go back and completely redo it, and it's like in my mind I come up with a script of how I want to make the animation, then I'll be like, okay, I'll do it, and then afterwards I'm like, wow, that sucked, it looks bad, I have to go back and redo it, and that takes time. Like I'm being honest, to animate 6 seconds takes me about 30 minutes to an hour. It's time. It's time consuming. Like to do an entire animation, like a 1 minute animation for me by myself, it takes hours. I've worked on 30-second animations and it's taking me 5 hours, and it's just because I have to reanimate stuff, I have to redo stuff. So it makes sense. Like, especially when you have a limited budget. My budget is technically unlimited because I'm working for myself, and I'm not doing anything super major that's going to cost me a lot of money. But if you have a budget and your budget is this many animations and it's taking you so many times to animate, the final one that might be the best looking one, might be the best one that actually looks good. It may not look good in quality, but when it comes to the actual story, it looks good. Because I can tell you something that a lot of some people don't understand. I can tell you this is why someone like, for example, James Cameron is killing animations, because he is directly involved with the animation team. He's directly involved with them because he himself understands what it takes to turn what he's making and put it into animation. Some of these people, script writers, directors, they have no idea. They just say, hey, do this. They're not realizing they're asking them to make a damn circle fit in a square hole. You know, like sometimes people don't understand it. Like, I'll literally get a question on my thing where people will be like, on Instagram or Facebook, people are like, why didn't you do that scene like that? I'm like, do you not realize what you just asked me to do? And in their mind, they think it's easy what they're asking me to do. And they're asking me to do something impossible. And it makes sense. Like, this is why I think a lot more movies, like the movie industry, needs to take VFX artists and everything more seriously. Like, you should do what James Cameron is doing. Become well into, become a part of it. Go into you know what I mean? Become a cohesive unit, and understand, oh, hey, I'm gonna just tell you right now, what you're asking me to do is going to take a lot more time. It's going to cost a lot of money. Maybe we should do it like this. It may not be what you want, but it's close enough to your vision, and it makes sense into the story, and it saves money. But
right.
Hey,
and most importantly, here's the real deal, is they've got to do it. Well, you're right. It is important that there be cohesion between writers, directors, and the VFX artists. But it would also help if, like a James Gunn, James Gunn storyboards his entire movies. So he already has a pretty clear idea of what he wants ahead of time. And lack of clarity is a huge problem with VFX artists, because if they're told something generic, then they do something generic. Now they gotta go back and rework it. So having that synergy between the director, the visual effects artists, and the writers, so that they are all working towards this one goal and there's no changes later on, that is important. And I think this is part of the reason why I think VFX artists need to unionize in the first damn place. So it's called, if you're in IT or whatever, or engineering or whatever, it's called scope creep. Like, where you start with something and eventually you're making a whole different thing because the customer, in this case the studios, are asking for something outside of what they originally said they wanted. And that's part of what it is. So hopefully they can get that shit together. And like I said, unionizing will really help that, because there's a price associated with all of these, oh, let's change the script shenanigans, and there's always a price associated with that. Now it needs to be paid by the studios as opposed to the VFX artists. So anyway, I thought that was interesting, and in light of the strike and all that other stuff, it's interesting to see where where all of these kind of, it's not even, I want to call it the blame game, but really kind of sorting out where they can save the process so that it's cost effective and it doesn't burn people out. So anyway, there's more info. We will talk about that in the future. Lottie, another nerd. We're going to do a nerd fight. And I think this will be an easy one. I think we're very much of like mind, but maybe we're going to argue about this one. It's a matter of taste. And I already know one of them we're gonna definitely be like, no. But either way, another discussing film was like, rank these trilogies from best to worst. And here are the trilogies. So the Dark Knight trilogy, the Spider-Man trilogy, the Guardians trilogy, and the Captain America trilogy. So Lottie, we're doing a definitive list. These are without a doubt, don't listen to anyone else. The best, we'll start at the worst. Out of those four, in your mind, what's the worst trilogy? And justify yourself.
Okay, now this is actually tough. This is actually tough for me. Because the word worst.
Well, out of the four of them, which one will be number 4?
I gotta put Guardians. I
Ooh,
gotta put Guardians.
Wow. Okay, let's hear it. I'm surprised.
The reason why I put Guardians there is because of impact. The impact Guardians of the Galaxy has on the industry is just nowhere near the other 3 movies on this list. I enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy movies more than I enjoyed the Batman. I enjoyed them more than I enjoyed the Batman movies. I'll go back and rewatch Guardians 2 before I rewatch the 3rd Batman movie. I'm just that is a hot take, and I'm being honest. I will watch Guardians Volume 2 before I'll watch Dark Knight Rises again. But I just can't ignore the amount of people that love that movie. My personal thing, I think the Dark Knight trilogy is the most overrated trilogy of all time. I think it is just so overrated. But I cannot ignore how much it is, how the impact that it's had on the pop culture, that I will be foolish to put it at the bottom.
Well, you just gonna have to call me foolish, because I'm doing this purely by numbers, and what everybody else, forget y'all. Here's the thing. I like the Dark Knight trilogy. I love the Dark Knight. I really, really like, Batman Begins. And out of this, so each of these 4 trilogies, so that's 12 movies. Number 12 on the list is The Dark Knight Rises. And it's not it's not even close. It's
now when you say it like that, I'm switching it. And now that when you say it like that, Jesus Christ, you're right. Batman Dark Knight trilogy going to the bottom because it's the worst movie on the list. You're right. You're absolutely right. And
that's saying something, because Spider-Man 3 is on this list. So in a world with Spider-Man 3 on the list, like if the bottom 3 movies in these 12 movies are Dark Knight Rises, Spider-Man 3, and Guardians 2. And then from there. So just by numbers, Batman Begins I really liked it, but out of all of the first movies if you look at every one of these, the first movie in every one of these, Batman Begins is the 4th out of those. Spider-Man 1's better than it. Guardians 1's better than it. Captain America the First Avenger's better than it. So by the numbers, it's just the least good. It only has one top tier movie out of them. So Dark Knight's at the bottom for me.
Yeah, when you say that, when you put it that way, you have completely swayed me. Like when you're right. I'm stupid. Yeah, put it at the bottom.
There we go. See, definitive list. We're doing it. So if the Dark Knight is number 4, now we have to question number 3, and I don't even think this is all that hard. I think
Guardians.
Guardians. It's got to be Guardians.
It's gotta be.
And I'm saying that Guardians 3 is amazing.
Yes.
It's an amazing movie. Guardians 1 is a revelation. It is. I've said, what drags it down to number 3 on this list is that Guardians 2 is just not as good. Guardians 2 is like, if this is an Oreo sandwich, it's the missing cream that someone scraped out. It's you got the two cookies, and you just got that little smear of cream, and you're just like, where's more? That's how I like Guardians, and that's the thing, is I like Guardians 2. I really do. But as I said before, in the bottom 3 movies out of these 12, Guardians 3 is it's number 10. So, but yeah, Guardians 3 number 3. So now we're gonna fight it out for number 1. This is for all the marbles, baby. Who's runner up in your opinion?
It's the Spider-Man trilogy,
Base.
and the reason why it's number 2.
I know
it's because of Spider-Man 3.
Yes. Yes.
It's 2 of the greatest superhero movies are in that trilogy, but the third movie brings it down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's Spider-Man. If Spider-Man was a duality, just had the first 2 movies, it could be you could debate it being number 1 on this trilogy. But the simple fact Spider-Man 3 is there to clip at his kneecaps.
You know what the Spider-Man trilogy is? It's that little 3-headed dragon meme where 2 dragons look mean and the one looks like it's just stupid. One looks like a cartoon stupid face, and the other ones look like mean ass D&D dragons. It's that one.
It's literally that, and it's just unfair because the trilogy after that is just it's not fair. It's not fair.
It literally, the reason why it's number 2 is Spider-Man 3. Like,
yes,
it's just, I mean, it's just not good. I mean, it's better. It's better than Dark Knight Rises, but it's just not good. So yeah, so that leaves Captain America. The Captain America trilogy, and there's an obvious reason for that. Every one of those movies slaps, as the kids say. The kids say slaps still, right?
Yes.
Every one of them slaps, and Captain America Civil War is a better Avengers movie than Age of Ultron. So it
should have been Avengers too.
So, as far as I'm concerned, there ain't a bad movie in that trilogy.
No.
It's
not a bad movies in the trilogy.
And they get better. The first one's great, and they get better.
Exactly.
And there are honest debates about, is Winter Soldier the best comic book movie of all time? Now, I don't agree that it is, but if someone made a case for it, I wouldn't argue too strenuously against it.
Exactly. 2 of the greatest superhero movies of all time are in this trilogy, just like how Spider-Man is it. But the first Captain America was so good and so inspired. You cannot watch that movie and not feel something. That movie was so inspired. Listen, man, I never was that big of a Captain America fan. After that movie, my brother could tell you I was fanboying for Captain America because this was the first superhero movie I've ever seen that I felt absolutely inspired. I've watched Spider-Man, I felt inspired, but Captain America made me want to be Captain America. I wanted to be Captain America so damn bad to see what that man was doing in that movie. Whenever someone tells me they didn't like Captain America, I always tell them, do you have a soul? Like, how can you watch that movie and tell me you didn't like it? Yes, it might not be the most action movie you ever seen, but when it comes to because comparing it, of course, Winter Soldier, Civil War are better movies. But when I want to be inspired, when I want to feel something, when I want to be uplifted, I watch the original Captain America movie. That movie is the epitome of what that, in my opinion, is S tier when it comes to introducing a superhero character. When it comes to their first movie, the prologue to a superhero, that is how you do it. That is how you do it. It made Steve Rogers, it made Chris Evans a household name. That movie made him a household name. I gotta stop fanboying over that movie. gotta stop.
Yes, yeah. No, that the Captain America one's great. It was it's not Iron Man great in the sense that Iron Man just set it off, but it really kind of reinforced like these are going to be the top two. These are going to be the guys that are the face of the MCU, and it just did it. As a fan of Captain America, as someone who's read the comics, who understood the character, I was like, okay, they got it. Like, you ever watch a comic book movie and you're like, do they understand this character? What are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you watch them and you're like, no, they understand. Not only do they understand the character, they've gotten to the heart of it, and they're translating that onto film. That's why you reacted to it the way you did. And then they had these guys. Can you believe it? Marvel Studios had the damn nerve to up their game every other movie, every movie after that. How dare you? How dare you be excellent after already being excellent? Like, I mean, literally, it's like the Bulls winning 3 in a row. That's what it was. They're just excellent. Yeah. Three in a row. So I can't say too much more than that you hadn't already said. It's obviously Captain America's the #1 out of those trilogies. So anyway, that's our definitive list: Captain America, Spider-Man, Guardians, Dark Knight trilogy. Anyone else has a different one? They're wrong. We got one final thing on this longer than I expected version of the Supercast, and that is this. Lottie, Blade, the original Blade, the OG Blade, came out 25 years ago as of yesterday. Wow, is all I can say. It came out in 1998, and this is pre-X-Men, right? No, the X-Men hadn't come out. Obviously, the MCU didn't exist. Spider-Man hadn't come out yet. None of that stuff was out yet. This was it. It was a superhero movie that people didn't know was a superhero movie. It was a Marvel movie, and it had a Marvel logo on it. Before that meant anything to most people, right? And I went into it knowing, hey, I know Blade's a comic book character. I hadn't really read anything. I know he exists and what he does. And my God, what a fucking great movie. It's R-rated too, also. Probably one, besides Deadpool, like the only R-rated Marvel thing you're ever going to really see. About the Daywalker Blade who hunts vampires and is having to deal with Deacon Frost, who has this plan to, basically rule the world. Have vampires rule the world. And full of action and, blood and just, quips, and Wesley Snipes kicking ass. I mean, what the fuck wasn't there to love? So, Lottie, in light of this, and I've sort of started doing it, let's talk about Blade and its impact on comic book movies, and what it meant culturally for us as blurs, what it culturally meant for us, and how it sort of affects how we're going to look forward to the new Blade.
When I think of 90s superhero movies, of course the Batman movies come up, but also another two movies that come up is Blade and Spawn.
What about Kazam? or Steel?
Man, get that out of here. Spawn and Blade were big time movies in my childhood. I loved Blade and I loved Spawn because, first of all, like you said, they were black. They were black, and they were the edgy. They were beyond Batman because they were dealing with things that were supernatural. Batman was dark, but Batman didn't deal with the supernatural. These deal with the supernatural. Blade started so many things because was Buffy the Vampire Slayer before or after?
The movie was before.
Okay,
but the TV show was after.
But a lot of Blade was a huge pop culture icon. Blade made Wesley Snipe. You know what I mean? Like when we think of Wesley Snipe, we think of Blade, and that's because of what it was, and it changed so many things. Because of Blade's popularity, Spider-Man got the green light. You know what I mean? Of course, we had other movies that got green lighted too, and that was only thing good about it was one actor in it. Besides that, the movie sucked. But you already know what movies I'm talking about.
Right.
But it was the start of the superhero. The MCU would not exist without Blade. I'm being honest. The MCU would not exist without Blade because everyone attributes the MCU to the Spider-Man Sam Raimi trilogy. But the Sam Raimi trilogy will not exist if Blade wasn't there. Blade is the reason, and even X-Men, Blade was the reason that superheroes started becoming something that was not named Batman and Superman. Can be something that you can actually take seriously and make a movie about it. You know what I mean? Because before, a lot of times, we grew up in the corny era where the superheroes that were not Batman or Superman, they were corny. You had the Hulk, which, people swear by that TV show, but when I see it, I just cringe.
Yes.
Same thing with the Wonder Woman TV show. I watch it.
And there was and in the early 90s, there was the Flash, and they tried. I mean, look, they tried, but I think the thing about Blade is they took a character who didn't need CG to be badass. He's a street level hero. Let's call it like it is. Yes, there's CG and effects and whatever because the vampire stuff or whatever. They took a vampire story and turned it into a kick-ass, vigilante, semi-Punisher-ish superhero. That's not a superhero. He doesn't he wears a cape sort of, but it's a trench coat. And he's just like fucking vampires up. And then there's a character in there, a doctor who doesn't know shit, and she's us, basically. We're going around like, what's going on in this world? Like, I was just watching it, before we started talking. And yeah, 25 years ago, there's some effects that are weird, and obviously, filming styles are different, and we're more digital now, and etc. And the VFX, it's a little dated, but the general idea and the aesthetic, hell, The Matrix came out a year later with the raves and goth stuff and all that, leather and ass kicking while you're looking cool and stylish. Blade did that shit. He had the sunglasses on and the fucking sword and was running on walls and fucking people up, a bunch of people at the same time, He was, there's the goth raves and stuff like that was going on, the techno music, LA looking like, strung out and weird and the underground nightlife, all that stuff was going on in there. And plus, as you said, Wesley Snipes was kicking ass. He looked so fucking cool. Look, this is how cool Blade was to me. Some years later, and look, hey, we all go through it. I wrote some damn Blade fan fiction because Blade was so fucking cool, and this was just, he wasn't Superman, he wasn't these other costume heroes. He just kicked ass, and just it was just different. And I think we see some of that DNA in later action heroes that are just punching the shit out of people,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, man, congratulations, man. 25 years. Man, there are people out here that are grown adults paying bills that wasn't born when Blade was out. Jesus.
There's some people out here on these streets that ain't even watched Blade before, which is blasphemy as far as I'm concerned. Oh yeah, what are you doing with your life? Go watch Blade, man. I
don't give a damn what anybody says. Blade is a hood classic. It is a hood classic. Fight me. Fight me, black people.
My man,
Blade is considered a hood classic.
He is a little blaxploitation, and by the way, the character Blade did come about during the exploitation era of like in the 70s when horror and grindhouse and everything. He's a grindhouse hero. Dude's rolling around in a badass muscle car. He's got a fucking silver sword, slicing motherfuckers up. I mean, what else do you want? And there's vampires going around, you know, doing silly ass shit. There's a big old fight at the end where a dude basically turns into like, he basically turns into Neo, a vampire Neo, and Blade has to fight him. Again, the fuck else do you want from a superhero thing? Okay. Just go, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. If you have watched it, go watch that shit again and give some appreciation to this movie that, crazy enough, came out 25 years ago. Lottie, but I think it's fair to say we getting old. Or
yeah.
I've been old, you're getting old. Because
yeah,
25 years ago, that's crazy, man. So anyway, I think, Lottie, that's everything for this week. Wow, what a packed episode we had. But hey, maybe we missed something. Maybe there's something that you wanted us to talk about, or you just have a comment about the topics we were talking about. Whatever the case may be, get down to the comment section and leave your thoughts there. Or, of course, you can always hit us up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. And while you're down there, do us a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. All that good stuff helps with the algorithm so that more people can see this channel. Help us grow. Help us to just like get our reach out there, man. You know, the channel recently passed 200 subscribers. That's awesome. We're trying to go for 300 and beyond. So, you know, do us a solid. And of course, if you're on a podcasting platform, leave a good review or just a review. Let us know how we're doing. Drop us a line. All that good stuff. We do enjoy hearing from you. And of course, the Supercast is a two-man operation. I can't do this by myself. I need Lottie to help me out. So, Lottie, where can they meet? Where can they reach you on social media?
Yeah, you can always follow me on my Instagram, which is Anukinihun. It's spelled ANUKINIHUN. Again, it's ANUKINIHUN. And of course, you can follow me on my YouTube channel, which is also Anukinihun Animations. So, like I said, I'm working on this little series of animations that's telling a little bit of a story. I'm not going to really tell you what it's about. I want you to watch it and figure out what it's about, because I leave telltale signs in each animation that I'm going to be releasing in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, you guys go check all of that out. Show Lottie some love. Follow, subscribe. You know what to do. All right. Thanks for joining us. It's episode 115 of the Supercast. Come back next week. Maybe we'll do an in-depth Blue Beetle review if it's even relevant at that time. I have a feeling it's not going to be, but we'll see. So until then, I have been Mo, your commenter extraordinaire on all things pop culture, joined by the anime expert, video game designer, and lover of all things superhero, my good friend Lottie. And we'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.
Peace.